Black Out Loud Media Group. Welcome back to another episode of the Brown Sugar Cafe podcast, the place where poetry meets conversation. I'm your host, Terrence P. Elmore, and before we get into today's topic, make sure you hit that plus sign so you don't miss an episode. Also, please subscribe to my blog, thebrownssugarcafe.blog, and if you find any value in this episode or any other episodes, make sure you leave a heartfelt review. So with that being said, let's get to it. Welcome back, everybody. I hope that you all are doing well. I hope that you enjoyed the poets I had on for Poetry Month. I hope that you found a poet and a poem that you resonated with. And we're back with our regular schedule. And today we have a special guest.
Coach Lee. I am a criminal defense attorney by day, but productivity and accountability coach, like I like to say throughout. I'm all about empowering people, but specifically women, to find that hidden time in their day, time to pour back into themselves so they can pursue their goals, their purpose, their life passions, while still maintaining their current responsibilities. Because as women, we play so many different roles in life that we often neglect ourselves. So I'm all about making sure and helping them to pour back into themselves and still take care of everything else they have to do.
Well, thank you for joining the show, first of all. Goal setting. How did you get started with goal setting? Because I know that's something that, a lot of people struggle with. And I've had my moments when I've struggled with goal setting. It seems like it's difficult. And life happens. Things happen to where goal setting becomes difficult and something that should be so simple. But how did you get into goal setting and empowering people to goal set?
By accident. The long and short version, by accident.
Okay.
I didn't realize that people struggled with it, I guess you can say. Like, people were always telling me, you're so motivated, you're so encouraging. Like, how are you doing all these things? Like, how are you working out? How are you? Because I used to referee basketball before the pandemic.
Okay.
So, like, I used to do all these different things. And they're like, how do you do law, work out, do this, do that? And I know you go to sleep early because your phone goes on silent and you don't answer the phone. Like, how are you doing all these things? And I'm just like, I just do. But then in the course of saying, like, I just do, they were like, well, I don't have time for this. It was like, what you do, you just don't realize it. So that I realized that people actually struggle with it. And people have told me that, you should be a life coach. You're so motivating and encouraging. But I'm like, then I pulled the I don't have time. I'm like, when am I going to have time to do that?
Yeah.
As a whole lawyer. The pandemic was like, oh, you want time? Here you go, girl.
Right. That's been the ongoing theme, seems like, lately this season, talking to people. They reference the pandemic as finding time to do things that they said they couldn't find time for.
Mm-hmm.
That was a very interesting time for us all, whether you were an essential worker or someone who unfortunately was laid off, or if you were able to start working remotely. It was a very interesting time because your whole day shifted, your whole daily routine shifted, life shifted. Something as simple as going to the store to grab some fruit or, a box of cereal turned into a whole thing.
Yeah.
So you said it was on accident. So how did you develop a strategy to help people with their goal setting?
Probably the lawyer in me, the type A personality, was like, well, if you're going to do this, you're going to do it right. Like, you're not just going to go into it willy-nilly. And because I had the extra time, because I think in the back of my head, I always knew that if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right. Website, get a coaching certification, all of those things. Because honestly, I'm a productivity and accountability coach, which really just means a life coach. You're coaching about what you've gone through in life, so you really don't need training or certification. But for me, because of me being a structured person, I'm like, I'm going to do a training. And so I started Googling, trying to find like coaching programs. And then, tried a couple, like, oh, we have a 5-day free trial, things like that. And once I found the program that I ultimately went through, I made it like halfway through the first video. And it was like, oh, I see why you guys say this. And so from there, in the course of going through the program, I kind of reached out to a couple of my friends who had told me, hey, you're encouraging and things like that. And it was kind of like, hey, I'm looking to do this. Basically, can I practice on you? Can I help you get this area structured? And then you also, in the course of it, tell me what do you like? What do you like about what I'm doing? What do you not? Basically critique me
Yeah.
while I'm coaching you for free.
Yeah. That's a real good trade-off.
Yeah.
Okay, I really appreciate that you said that you actually went to get certified, because a lot of people jump into things and it's like coaching and they just jump into it without certification. And that structure, that speaks a lot to what you're doing. It's like it's already in you, so it's a no-brainer to help other people. And I noticed you said that empowering women, you said everybody, of course, but where did you find the importance in empowering women?
I think because most of the people who were saying that I don't have times is women. Not that men don't have all these other roles. And given I don't have kids, so I don't have that added responsibility. But typically, women become the first person you go to, whether that be for your significant other, whether that be for your significant other, for your children, your job, whatever. They kind of like look to you first on, hey, can you help with this? And women, we decide sometimes that I don't know how to tell other people no, so I'm just going to keep saying yes to them. And in the course of that, neglect themselves. So I think it became women because we do so much, but we also do so little for ourselves.
I've noticed that in conversations, like you said, even if you don't have children, you still have responsibilities, and say you have a significant other, even just daily life, cooking, cleaning, getting to work on time, stuff like that. And then especially like if you have children and they're in extracurricular activities like sports, band, things like that, that can tug and pull from you too. So I really like that you hone in on that, empowering women to find time, because where I used to work, I worked with a lot of women, and those were the conversations that we were having. Like, they don't have time because as soon as they get off from work, they have to go pick this one up from practice. This one has a recital, and then the next day is all over again. And like you said earlier, it's finding that time to make your goals happen, set your goals. And so with your process, like, what would you say to someone who's listening to this now, who thinks that, yeah, that sounds good and this is a pretty cool conversation, but I still don't have time?
You do. You got time. I want you to think about how much time you scroll on your phone, watch TV, do all this mindless stuff, but you don't have time.
That's true.
Just start there.
But what if they say, I know this is a good one here. What if they say, well, that's how I unwind, that's how I relax from the day.
Unwind. I'm not saying not to. Look, if people follow me and like y'all will see me in my stories talking about, especially on the weekend, like, okay, I'm having my 2 hours of TV time, and yes, I scheduled that. Like, I'm not saying not to unwind. I'm not saying don't do these other things, but there's a balance in it. Yeah. And some of the things you might be doing, like, I know laundry, for example, is a thing that people are always like, oh, I'll wash the clothes, but I never want to fold them or put them up. Okay, if you want to watch TV while you're sitting on that couch for that hour, you can fold those clothes.
Yes.
Like, you're getting that's how you find time. You pair two activities. You pair something you like to do with something you don't like to do. You like to watch TV, you don't like to fold the clothes. How much attention do you really need to fold clothes? You really don't. You know how to fold a shirt, fold pants, put some socks together. You can watch TV that entire time and get all those clothes folded. Use the commercials. I know we in this age of like DVR and Netflix and Hulu, so no commercials. But that 2-3 minutes when the credits is playing, use them 2-3 minutes, or if you're still watching commercials, to put the clothes up.
That's
you use commercials to go get your snack any other time, to go, let me refill my snacks. Use that same time to go, okay, let me go run these clothes up the stairs in the room. At least put them in the room, even if you don't put them in the drawer. It's like these little things that take 5-10 seconds that you can just fit right in there.
I'm glad you said that, because that's one of the things I might have learned how to fold clothes like that when I was younger. It's like watching TV. It's just, like you said, it's just a mindless activity. You can fold. You've been folding for years. You know how to do the stuff without actually looking at the clothes. And it's pairing two things at one time. And it's like, I like to try to, well, I don't like to say, I'll say multitask, even though, when you quote unquote multitasking, something is being neglected, but I like to pair two tasks together. Like you said, I like to do that because it maximizes your time. And when you maximize your time, you have more time to do the things that are more important.
Exactly. That's for me, that's what finding the hidden time is mostly about, how to multitask well. Because I'm not of the philosophy that multitasking is bad. I think it just depends on what you're trying to multitask and do.
Yeah. Very. I know that when I was in school, I would do homework with the TV on, but I was never watching it. And it was just something about having it on while I was doing my homework. And, people would say, well, how are you watching TV while you're doing homework? I was like, I'm not looking at the TV, and sometimes I'm not even paying attention, but I think that I had gotten into a rhythm of doing that to where it just, it just had to have the TV on. And because I would get my work done and my homework done efficiently, my parents didn't have a problem with me doing that. Probably not so much my younger brother and sister, but I love y'all. But, I guess when you know what you can handle at the same time, then you're able to do it. Like, now, if you're one of those people who get caught up in the TV show and something happens and you pause, it's like you set yourself up for failure.
Mm-hmm.
Because we all have those shows that have those big moments and those shocking moments. And, sometimes you can't help it. You're going to pause, but at least get back to it and finish folding those clothes.
Exactly.
And you said something about the Hulu and Netflix now. They're introducing commercials unless you want to pay a higher fee. So those commercials and ads are coming back. So
yeah,
that's time you can find. Now, they're really short, but that's time you can find to do something.
You can save time and money. Keep the commercials, save a couple dollars a month, get most of it done.
Yes. That's a good point. We talked about the pandemic earlier. How was the shift into the pandemic for you? And then how is the shift now coming out of it? I know we all had more free time to do things. Did you find it easy to kind of shift back into things, or was there any difficulty? Like, how was that shifting? How was that going into the pandemic and coming out?
I think the pandemic taught a lot of people about themselves. It taught me how much I like my alone time. So it was a mix. So in the beginning, like I said, my business, I started this during the pandemic. Literally, March is when the pandemic started. We probably were 2-ish weeks, because I remember I had a friend that was getting married around like the 17th, and I think after her wedding ended up getting canceled. So I think around that time is when they were kind of like, world's on lockdown. Yeah. I'm a criminal defense attorney, so yes, people are still getting arrested, but we can't do trials, we can't do all this face-to-face stuff. So basically, we got sent home. I still had a job, thankfully, but because court was limited, like instead of having court every day, they kind of limited how much court. So our job pretty much was like, I don't care when you do your work, just get it done. Because people are now home with kids, so they can't necessarily work this 8 to 5 because the kids got school and all of this. So I think we were literally probably 2.5 weeks into the pandemic before I was like, oh my God, I'm bored. I had books, I had podcasts, I had TV, I was still going on my walks, I was still doing my regular workout, but it was because it's only me, I was able to get stuff done without distraction. So like an 8-hour day, I would log on, and by 12 o'clock, I'm pretty much like, I'm done with what I need to do for the day, because it's only so much we can do to move the cases. So I literally had so much more free time. And then that's when those thoughts started coming back to me. And I'm like, I'm bored. Let me look into it, because I'm not a napper. So I'm not going to sleep the day away. It was like, literally like, what am I going to do? And so then once it came time to get back to work, like physically, even with that, we eased back in. It wasn't come back to work every day. It was come in 2-3 days. And then, kind of stepped it back to get into the 5. But with that also came the realization of like, yes, work started back, but the world was still kind of closed. So choosing what events I'm going to or not going to. It was kind of like, who all gonna be over there? How many people gonna be over there? I was like,
Yeah.
nah, I don't know about that one. So literally, I realized during the pandemic, like, I'm okay with being alone. Like, okay, we talked on video, we talked on the phone. Like, that was enough for me. Oh, I went to work once a week. I peopled enough. So it was a mix. Like, it was easy for me to be away, and coming back in, it was easy to get back into it. But even with the coming away and going back in, there were adjustments that were made in terms of how much I did. And then it started making me realize, like, was I saying yes to these things because I felt like I had to? Not because I truly necessarily enjoyed the thing. I might enjoy the people, but I might not enjoy the thing. And so I was saying yes because I wanted to be with the people, but not the thing. And so it started helping me being more selective with the things that I was saying yes to and the ways in which I was saying yes.
Man. I was thinking about that the other day, and I'm glad you said that, how sometimes we'll say yes to something just because the people will be there that we want to see and spend time with, but we might not necessarily care about the event or whatever is happening. And wow, yeah, this is interesting that we're having this conversation. Do you have any suggestions for that if someone finds themselves saying yes to events just to spend time with people? I have some thoughts on it, but I want to hear your thought on it first.
I think it's finding ways to still spend time with them. But like, for example, and me and my best friend, like, we've been best friends since elementary school, but she goes out and does a lot of stuff. And she's like, I don't invite you because I know you don't necessarily like these things. It's not that I don't want to spend time with you, but I don't invite you because I know you don't necessarily enjoy these things. We've been friends since elementary school. She knows me by now.
Yeah.
So even the other day, we were talking about something, and she was telling me about, like, over the summer they were going to go to, like, Food and Wine Festival. So she was like, do you want to come? And I'm like, okay, that sounds interesting. Then I started looking at the price of, because they were doing like drink around the world or something like that.
Yeah.
And so I would start looking at the price of the drinks, and I'm like, I want to go because I want to get out of the house. I want to spend time with my best friend. They're going to get shirts. They were going to make it this big event. But I started looking at the price of them drinks, and I'm like, I don't even drink like that.
Yeah.
Do I really want to go spend $150 easily on drinks? I haven't even ate. I hadn't even paid to get into the park yet. Do I really want to go spend all this money just to spend time with her?
Yeah, those things get expensive. Yeah.
And so I think the way you like combat that is either the people that you're hanging out with, either find new activities that you can do, because if you like hanging out with them, that means you like them as a person. So there has to be something that you have in common. Like maybe they're drinkers, but maybe you're more of an outdoorsy thing. So maybe you can try to, hey, can we go to this outdoor thing? Afterwards, we can go have lunch at the bar. So they still get their drink in, and then, you still get what you enjoy. So I think, number one, communicating that. It's not that I don't want to go spend time with you. I just don't really like this event. Are there other things that we can do? Or they know, like my friends know, if you want to do something like adventurous, some athletic, competitive thing, you can call me all day. Yeah. I'm there for that. It involves food, I'm probably going to be there for that. Alcohol, not as much.
Yeah.
So I think communicating what it is that you like and you enjoy, and finding ways to spend time with your people in those situations, even if it involves all of y'all trying something new. Like, hey, we've never done this. None of us know if we're going to like it. Let's try this.
That's really good. My thoughts were similar, but I was going more along the lines of, hey, make some time for me. Like, I'm not trying to figure out what else we can do. I love your suggestion though. I'm not trying to figure out what else we can do or whatever. Just like make time for me. It's like, after saying yes so many times, like, what are you going to say yes to when it comes to me? Or, can we just hang out? Like, it doesn't even have to be anything special. It doesn't have to be any type of event. We can go watch a game or something like that, but just make time. Like my cousins, we decided to try to be more intentional about spending time with each other, because we realized that we were only really seeing, like, all of us all together were really seeing each other during Thanksgiving. And even though we planned stuff, all of us couldn't make it, but the times that things were planned, we at least got together and we were intentional about getting together. I remember when we were kids, I mean, of course, we would see each other all the time because our parents were going to each other's houses and stuff. But it's like we kind of, and I wouldn't even say we kind of lost that because now I'm thinking about it.
We
My
just grew up.
mother, yeah, because my mother is one of 9. And so us going to see everybody is kind of like what my cousins are doing because they have their own family, their parents or whatever. So they're all seeing each other. They're all nieces and nephews and everything. But it's a lot of us.
Yeah.
And so we decided to be intentional about spending time with each other. It's like we have to plan these events, and we talked about it for a while. It took a little minute for it to happen, I think. Yeah, matter of fact, the pandemic is what really kicked it off. It was like,
I
hey,
remember in
we
the
got
clubhouse room when you was
yeah.
like, "This is my check-in for the day. I'm calling my cousins."
Yeah, it's like we had to make it intentional, and I think that's important because we're all not going to like the same activities. I mean, that's just, you might find 1 or 2 people that you can, I mean, y'all like everything, and even there's still some little areas of things that you all don't like. But if you're intentional about, I think if you're intentional about it, and if you goal set, what you're going to do as far as spending time with each other, you can really maximize your time with people. It doesn't always have to be a concert or wine tasting and stuff like that, but just make time. I think
Yeah.
we don't always make time for people and the things that are important to us. Like we make time for, well, work is important, but you know what I'm saying, we make time we make time for other things, but how much time are we making for ourselves and the people that really matter to us? And how do we get other people on board to realize that? Because some people will take an offense to you not wanting to come out with them, and it's like, oh, so you don't want to hang with me? It's like, no, it's not that I don't want to hang with you, I just don't want to hang with you in that capacity. Can we do something else?
And I think it's a two-way street in that, because like you were saying, telling them to make time for you, that's a good thing. But if they're the only ones ever inviting, then the flip side is you invite them to something. And if they're like, if y'all both are always saying no to each other,
yeah,
then it's like, okay, clearly we're trying, but why are you saying no? Are you actually busy, or is it, I don't really like this thing, so therefore, and then if y'all have that communication, because like even me and my best friend, like we realized that, and so we did it for about 6 months. We were like, okay, once a month we're gonna have like a best friends day. It doesn't have to involve money. We can literally sit on the couch, work. Like you're planning something, like I can come help you set up. I'm doing this, you can come help me set up. Oh, you want to go out and do something? Let's go out. So we did that. And I think it's just like you said, it's important to just make time, but deciding what that looks like. Because if your friends are always inviting you to stuff and you're always saying no, I'm pretty sure they're going to feel resentful and stop inviting you to stuff, because it's like every time I invite you, you say no. But I know you just sitting home on the couch. So it's not like you said no and then I knew you were at work, or, I knew you were out of town, or you were doing something. You said no, and then I know you sat on the couch. So it wasn't like you were busy. So why am I going to keep trying? So I think it's the balance of when you're telling them to make time for you, are you also inviting them to stuff to make sure that, okay, I don't like these things, let me invite you to stuff that I like and see how you respond, and let's go from there.
That's it. And
it's compromise.
Yeah, because you made me think about something. Like some people will say no, and then they're just not doing anything, and after a while that becomes hurtful to the person on the other side, because it's just like I said before, they take it personally, and it's like, oh, so you don't want to hang with me. Back to what you said, communication, not actually talking to the person's like, yeah, I want to hang with you, be with you, but the things that you're doing, the activities that you're doing, I'm not interested in that. And those are conversations we need to be having with each other. It's like, yeah, man, I want to spend time with you, but I don't want to do that. Or the other thing is, I don't want to hang with you and the people who are going to be there. Because that's a thing too.
Yeah.
So your goal setting and your coaching has led you to becoming an author. First of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
How do you feel?
Woo. I don't like it. It feels weird. It feels good but weird because like I never set out, like I know there are some people who like set out to write books. I know you're on what, book 3, 4? Like I don't know if you set out to really be an author. Like I know you do the poetry and everything, but like I never set out to write a book. Like I never quote unquote wanted to write a book. That wasn't like on my bucket list of things. But when I sat down to write said book, I set a goal. And like I wrote it during November when there's, I think it's called NaNoWrites. Because I'm like, I don't really know how long a book is supposed to be. Like, I don't really know how to do this. But like, I did the NaNoWrites thing in November, which is when I wrote it. And so I wrote it in a month. Because I'm like, okay, I need a goal. The goal was, I think it was like 1,500 words a day or whatever. So I'm like, okay, just keep writing. The page count saying I'm at 1,500. Okay, I'll stop. Start again the next day. And that's literally how I wrote it. But it feels weird. Like, it's been a long time coming. Because like, after I finished writing it, like going through like finding an editor, going through the editing process, figuring out all of that stuff, and then like logistical stuff like took a while. And so now that it's like here, it's like, wait, it's really here? Like no, we gotta wait. No, it's here for real. Like, so now it's getting more comfortable with the idea, with the thought, like you wrote a book, like you can touch it, it's tangible, like you can send it to people, other people can read it. It's surreal. I think it's like the best way. Like I don't even know if I fully have my thoughts or feelings or emotions around it like here yet.
Yeah. I didn't set out to be an author. At one point I thought about it, and I was working on a book, never finished that book, and then who knew that my first book, and well, all of my books so far are poetry books. But I never thought that would happen. And so it's like you never know, you never know. And then becoming an author, like you said, it's an indescribable feeling. It feels good, but it's just like, wow, like I really did that.
Right.
Yeah. So your title is Lee's Laws of Productivity. How did you come up with that title? And first of all, what's the book about?
It's about productivity, no surprise. It's basically about simplifying productivity. Coming up with the name was, I'm Coach Lee, so the Lee, and then criminal defense attorney by day. So like it was kind of like playing homage to the law, because my actual business name is Legal Lee. So it was kind of using that and kind of like the play on what I do full time and who I am and kind of what this is. So yeah, it's all about basically productivity, getting stuff done, finding time, simplifying it.
Okay. And it should be out by the time this episode airs, right?
Yes.
What's the you said that was a long yes.
Look, because I've never published a book before, so like the lady who's doing like the KDP, publishing on KDP, she's like, okay, what day do you want the date to be? And I'm like, okay, is this pre-sale date or is this live date or is this like, what does this mean? Because there's a Kindle version, there's a paperback version, like they got different release dates. So April 7th, is it 17th or 27th? It's one of those days. It'll be out. I think the pre-sale is supposed to be for like 2 weeks, and then I think by April for sure, like the physical books would be like, I guess, being mailed. I don't know how long Amazon take to do all that stuff, but that, yes.
Okay. So by the time this episode airs, your book will be out, and congratulations again. That is a big accomplishment. And you said you were doing 1,500 words a day.
I think that's what I think. NaNoWrites. It was either 1,500 or 25. I think it was 1,500. So yeah. You
on it.
Yeah.
You don't know. Did you ever go over, or you stopped?
Not by much. Like I would kind of intentionally either make myself stop, and like I would put like a bracket, like start tomorrow with this thought.
Okay.
So that I would just be able to sit down and like keep going.
And now that you finished that process and your book is complete, do you see yourself, you probably can't answer this now, or you probably can, do you see yourself writing more books?
When I first finished, I said I would. And that's not to say that I'm saying that I won't now. But like when I first finished like the editing thing, I was like, I think I know what the next book is going to be about. And like I think it's probably still on my Google Drive. Like I started an outline,
Yeah.
I kind of went back and looked at that thing again, but I think now that I know more, I would still do it again, but I also learned things that I probably would do differently as well.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna, like, I can see, like, in my head, I'm like, this could be like a three-part series or something.
Okay.
I don't know
Yeah.
what part 3 is yet, but so I quasi see myself doing it again. The question, I don't see the win like I did the first time.
Got it. Got
Like
it.
the
Got it.
urgency that came with the first one and the way it
Yeah.
flowed was there. And then when I did the outline for the second one, like I felt like I was forcing it, like it wasn't flowing. So I'm like, shelve it. When it's time,
Yeah.
we'll come back.
Yeah. I think once this book comes out, all of it'll come back because you come in contact with people and you have conversations about this book and it'll open up a whole new realm of thoughts and you like, oh, here we go. And you jump right back into it.
Yeah.
Do you have a book tour planned yet? Or
Look, I'm trying to convince myself to do a book launch party to go with people to celebrate the book. I don't have a launch I don't have a book tour. But look, I'm trying to get more into speaking. So look, I mean, if I come speak, I can bring the books with me. We can figure it out.
yeah.
But I don't have one like planned because I'm trying to convince myself to plan a book launch party to celebrate it, at least in that way.
You should. I mean, even if you don't want to do it in person, but you should do it in person. But even if you don't, you could do like a virtual launch party. Maybe Zoom or something like that. Invite some people.
And my birthday's next month. My birthday's in May. So like by the time the physical ones come out and like come into play and all of that stuff, that's kind of why like the publisher that was helping me, she's kind of like, well, you just celebrate your birthday and just like tie it together. And I'm like,
yeah,
think about it.
And that's perfect. See how everything is just working itself out.
Right, and that's why I'm like, okay, I see all these delays are lining up with like these timelines. I see what we're doing here.
Yeah, because that would be an awesome thing to celebrate your birthday by celebrating a new book, because that's an accomplishment. It's a fun process, but it's not as easy as some people would say, and it's not that difficult either. If anybody's listening thinking like, oh no, I don't know, it's not really difficult.
It's like it's a mix. It's like some parts that might be hard for one person is the easy part for the other person, but it's generally speaking, you're not stopping life to do this book. So like for me, I was writing in the morning before I would go to work. Well, before going to work and all of that. And then since I wrote it during November, Thanksgiving came. So I was home with family and like getting up like before I can go down there and hang out with y'all, eat Thanksgiving dinner, all of this stuff, like gotta get these words out. So it takes discipline. It takes kind of like having that goal, but it doesn't have to be difficult. But I think you also have to make sure you just focus on like one step at a time, because I think that's where it can get overwhelming. If you start trying to think about like, I gotta find a publisher. Am I gonna self-publish? Am I gonna this? Am I gonna that? Am I gonna do an audiobook? Like, get the words on the paper first. You don't got nothing to worry about till you got words on paper.
Get the words on the paper first.
You got nothing.
I tell people that all the time, like that's the hardest part, is just to start. Just start. Don't worry about all the other stuff. Dr. Miles Monroe said something one time that it really spoke to me. He was saying about writing a book. He said that just get the thoughts out on the paper. He was like, you don't have to be a scholar. You don't have to worry about, you don't even have to worry about grammatical errors. You can pay somebody to do that. He was like, just get the thoughts out. Because I think with us, what we always try to do is fine tune everything.
Perfectionism.
Starting. Yeah. And it's like, just get it out. You can come back to it and, refine it and do the things you need to it, but just get the thoughts out. That is the most important thing, is getting those thoughts out and stop getting in your own way.
And that applies not just with like literally writing a book, but with everything. Like I say that all the time. Like if y'all every weekend, y'all gonna hear me say, have you done your brain dump? Have you made your to-do list for the week? Have you got it out of your head and onto paper? Because literally, like, we get stuck in our own heads so much with everything. Why you can't do something, why it's not gonna work, why you don't have time. we just got to get out of our, we literally have to get out of our own way. Like, I know there's a book, I think it's Rachel Hollis, like get out of your way, get out of your own way, something like that. But basically there's a book that literally talks about how we stand in our own way. We're our own biggest critic and our own biggest hurdle. The grace that we give other people, we got to start giving ourselves.
Yeah, you could say that again. The grace that we give other people, we have to start giving ourselves. That could be a whole podcast episode by itself.
Yes. That'll preach on its own.
Right. Man, yeah, because I mean, you think about it, what I find is that people who can pull out stuff in other people, not everybody, but some of the people who can do that can pull out stuff in other people and give people all these ideas, and it's like when it comes to them, they just like it's foreign, and it's like, but you know how to do this, you do it for everybody else. Just if you have to pretend you're doing it for somebody else.
Yeah,
it's sometimes people have people in their circle who give, like I've heard of someone giving somebody an idea, you know, asking for some help on something because they knew it was something that the person wanted to do, but they tricked them into thinking it was for them. And when they gave them all the ideas, like, okay, now here you go, what's your excuse?
Wow, I love that. Because it makes me think about, like, I don't know if your parents was like this, but I know, like, my daddy will tell us to do something. I told us to do something growing up, and like tell it to you 17,000 times, and you hear some random stranger saying it, all of a sudden you like, got this brilliant idea. He's like, I've been telling you that for all of this time. Like, I played sports growing up, so like he would say, like, you know, do your free throw this way or something like that, and then all of a sudden the coach would say it, and it's like, I've been telling you this while we've been at home practicing, but you didn't hear it. But now this random person tell you, and now it clicks. Like, we are that for ourselves. Like, we can tell everybody else, but we, like, the same thing we spitting out half of the time is what we need to hear. Yeah. So true. It's been a couple of things my parents have said, and it didn't click until somebody else said it, and it's like, oh man, that's what they were talking about. Yes.
I don't know. Yeah. What's one thing about you that a lot of people may not know that you wish that more people knew?
Ooh, that I don't know and I want them to know. It's a good one. I think people realize it. I have a tough exterior, but I'm not a softie, but I have a kind heart. Like, I will give and do for other people, not at the detriment of myself, but I'm gonna make it work. I'm gonna figure out a way to where I can do for them the same way I can do for me and everything. Yeah, that's true. I can tell that you have a heart for people because your whole mission is helping empower people and helping empower women. So, you know, however the exterior is, it shows, it pours out, like your heart for people. And I really appreciate what you're doing and how you're helping people get out of their own way. You're helping people goal set. You're helping people be more productive. So thank you for that. I can't wait to get my copy of your book. Yes. Congratulations again. Before I let you get out of here, is there anything that you want to share? Any final comments? How people can connect with you? Any events? Anything you have? The floor is yours. Okay, so connecting with me, I'm legally.me everywhere. LEGALLEE.me. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, everywhere. Website, legally.me. In terms of final words, just start. Whatever it is that you've been thinking about doing, you've been thinking about it for a reason, start. The first step to starting is, like we talked about, get it out of your head and onto paper. You think it won't work? Write down the pros and the cons. Because at least this way you got something that you're working with. You got facts in front of you instead of just all this stuff in your head. Good double, bad double, going back and forth. Just start. Get it out of your head and get it on the paper. Just start.
Well, you all heard it here. Just start. Coach Lee, thank you for your time. And to my listeners, remember, keep pushing forward. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Brown Sugar Cafe podcast. Once again, I'm your host, Terrence P. Elmore, and this is the place where poetry meets conversation. hit that follow button and turn on your notifications so you won't miss an episode. Check out my blog, thebrownsugarcafe.blog. Also connect with me on Instagram at thebrownsugarcafe. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and as always, remember, keep pushing forward.